Okay, my name is Romeo Perlstein. I'm a student in CMSC731, Advances in XR, and this is my submission for homework 3. I have 2 recordings, so I have one of the screen and also one of me kind of here, so I can show some of the button presses and also so I can capture my audio because the setup I'm using doesn't have a mic. So yeah, I'm just going to get right into it and start with the first kind of prompt, which was highlighting objects with array. So here we go. Start, cool. And you can see I can shoot array by pressing the A button on either controller. They have the controller manager script. And if I click on an object, you see I can highlight it as long as I'm kind of hovering over it. I can do that for all of these objects. I can do it with this hand as well. I can have 2 of them at the same time. And then as soon as I go, yep, there you go. So, and then I implemented this move around script. So you can see I can highlight this, and I can highlight that, and I can highlight pretty much every geometric shape in Unity. There we go, highlighting all of these. I can even highlight the floor because I added the script to it. So yeah, that is the kind of first deliverable. And also I have these little cubes to represent my left and right hand. Left is red, right is blue. I wanted to do something a little more intensive, but this was kind of quick and easy to do and got the job done. So, all right, cool. Let's move on to the next interaction, which is, let's see, scenes interaction 2. Yes, so this is the grabbing. We're gonna wait for this to load just a sec. Takes a bit, but the way I implemented this while it loads is I have it detect when the object is within the sphere, kind of like was recommended in the homework. And then it auto kind of sets it to a forward pointing view so that when you grab it, it will auto lock to a certain position. I tried to do some non-specific positions, but this was kind of pretty straightforward. And I mean, this is not unusual in VR where you kind of lock the position that you want your objects to be in. So you can see that as I go in close to grab something, if I press the trigger, it will kind of auto lock to that location. And I have it so that here's this little bounding circle, which is my radius. So when I get right, like at the very edge of the circle, right to the center of the box, then it kind of locks on, and you can see it won't do that until I get to the center there. And then I have it kind of out of the bounding box just because. And I can grab onto all of these. You see I shot array there, yeah. I'm using the trigger also to do this, so you can see there I press the trigger. And you'll notice, I believe, yeah, they won't collide actually, so I have them, once you grab onto it, it's you know you've only grabbed onto one and you won't grab onto another one. And of course there's no physics going on right now, but I can grab onto all of these little ones. Let's see, I can go grab onto this, move it here, and then let's see, got a couple more over here, let's grab them. Yeah, so, and then of course, I've also done, so whichever one is closer to the center, so like right now, that one, the red one is closer to the center. If I grab it, it'll do that. And I can do the same thing, but these are both within the bounding sphere, but I grabbed the closest one, so, and then now the yellow one gets picked. Make sure, yeah, this looks like it's getting picked up pretty well. So yeah, so then I can do that and do all that. So let's make a little tower here. And yeah, I can also rotate the cube based on my controller orientation. Let's do something like that. Cool, we made a little H. All right. Yeah, I think that's the second kind of interaction that we're supposed to implement. So that's just my implementation of it. And let's go on to the next one. Click. Interaction 3. This is part of the extra credit now. So I believe this is the ray cast. So we're shooting a ray to grab an object, and I did pretty much the same thing where I combined basically the highlight and the grab, which I'm sure is what you wanted, Professor and TAs. I combined the 2 scripts so that when I detected an object, then I grab onto it. I'm doing the same type of, hey, if I've already grabbed onto an object, don't grab onto another one. So I kind of have the same setup going here, and I'm using this kind of grip button now to indicate that I want to grab onto something. So I press the grip button and then the trigger, and then I can use the thumbstick to move it back and forth. So I'll first highlight a cube. There we go, there's one. I click onto it. Now I can move it around. It's kind of attached to this pole that I've made. And then I can use the joystick, wow, to move it in and out. And this is the current speed I have it set to. You can see I can make it go pretty fast. and that bounce back is just, that's kind of how far I've shot it back out. So I was trying to do a couple clamping methods, but I just decided to focus on it a little later. And I can do the same thing. So, and also if I'm hovering over another object, I won't pay attention to it because I'm currently holding on to one. So I can shoot, and then once it's kind of highlighted, then I can grab it and it'll auto kind of center itself within my ray. Same thing here. Grab this, and of course I can, let's see, orient it and move it. And I can do the same thing with my left hand. I kind of have like punching hands here, basically is how I'm seeing it. But yeah, and then I have a few more. Let's see, I can grab this one, move it right over there, and then I have these two, so let's grab them. Ooh. Oh, I lost that one, I think. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's put that one right there, and let's put this one right there. Let's grab these ones, and we'll put that one way up there, and we'll put that other one kind of way next to it. Let's see, I can still grab it. Cool. Okay, yeah. So there's my ray grabber. That's the implementation for that. And let's see, this actually was not as fast. Oh, you know what? I changed the physics time. That's why it's so fast. So this is all running in physics update. At least my moving the joystick is in the physics update loop. So that's why it's so fast. I was kind of wondering why. I had set it to be slower, but yeah, that's that. And let's move on, I think, to the last one, which is the physical interaction. And this one is kind of tricky, so I'm not actually, I mean, I have an implementation, but it's not really, I don't really like the interaction, because I was really trying to go for like picking up rigid bodies with two hands. And I think the move position, I'm using move position, so rigid body dot move position, and move rotation, and I'm capturing the rotation of the hand sticks, and I'm applying those to another separate rigid body. So I'm capturing the orientation of my hand controllers, and then I'm sending that to a rigid body using the move position, move rotation function. Ooh, I need to sit down for this, I think. Yes, but so the implementation is not as much as I'd like. You'll see if I can kind of push this around, which is neat. These are all rigid bodies, and you see I have a ton of them here. So I can try to grab this T1, and it might fly, yeah, it might fly away. So yeah, there we go. But I can still, you know, I just hit the wall. Still tap them and like move them around. And I think the right thing to do would be to estimate the acceleration that I'm kind of sending it, and then apply a velocity or apply a force using like a common filter or something, which makes the most, I mean, I think you can't capture acceleration directly. I mean, you can, but it's not like it's giving it to you necessarily. So I think getting acceleration somehow, either by taking the velocity from the accelerometers or the acceleration from the accelerometers and just using that for a force value, would really set this as a good, oh, that was pretty good. And I mean, I can still, I'm gonna like hit the ground, but I can still kind of grab these, and you see that it's got all this weird interaction. But I basically have two rigid bodies right here that are my hands, and I'm trying to interact with these other rigid bodies. And of course, I'm squeezing two solid objects together or shoving them inside of themselves, so the physics is kind of freaking out. It's like, whoa, you can't put two things inside of each other. And also this table is a rigid body, so I think I can flip it. Ooh, if I hit it hard enough. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I can bat it back and forth, or I can try to pick it up. Let's see, can I do anything? I mean, I can shove my hands right. Oh, I can push it. Yeah, look at that. There we go. See, I'm pushing the table. That's kind of neat. Let's see, I can probably rotate it too a little bit. Oh, it's inside me. Tap, tap, tap. Yeah, so definitely I found that using the transform was not good enough at all, which is what Unity said anyway, that you want to kind of use the physics-based position update or position value, which is what I'm doing right now. But it's still not as good. I really would like it to be better. So I'd like to do more tweaking with this, but because this homework is already late, I decided not to spend too much more time on it. But you can see I can kind of interact poorly, but I can interact with kind of the physical objects in my environment. And I currently have everything, I think, set to continuous dynamic or continuous speculative. And I even tried, adding friction, so a physical material, but that didn't seem to help too much. Yeah, I think the issue is getting the movement from my hands and converting that to like forces basically, so that and like a realistic forces, so Unity actually knows what it's doing. And if I just derive the position and then derive the derived velocity, if I just do the double derivation of the current position, then I get really noisy acceleration. Everything flies all over the place. So yeah, well, that's pretty much it. So I think I covered everything. Again, this was fun. I apologize that it's so late, but hopefully it's all good. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna stop this recording now, and then I will stop the other one. Hey, so this is Romeo. This is Aftermath Romeo, I guess. And I just wanted to talk. I did a second kind of demonstration of the uh, rigid body physics interactions. I thought I'd just make my hand a giant bat and kind of bot things around. So you can see there's some good interactions and there's some bad interactions. Yeah, I mean that's one of the bad ones where you see it doesn't work. But you get some good collisions as well. So I thought I'd kind of re-go and do it again where I'm just hitting things around. So here's me kind of knocking some stuff over, and you get to see good and bad interactions. There was this weird phenomena, probably not weird, but weird to me because I'm kind of new to all of this, is that some of the parts seem to stick or like want to stick to the rigid body. And I don't know if that's just a result of the poor collision physics that I'm doing on my end, or if it's some underlying thing that's happening where the two meshes are connecting to each other. But here I go, I'm just pushing the table off. I like that I could push it in the last demonstration, so I was like, I'll just go push it off and look over the edge and watch it fall to its doom, basically. Um, yeah, and yeah, I'm just gonna mess around with some of these blocks a little bit more, and you can see here I'm kind of not even touching it, and they're freaking out. It's probably because or maybe I guess a guess I would have is my hands, which are rigid bodies, aren't actually being reacted to by the objects themselves. So it's basically like an immovable object acting on these things that want to react to them. So um, instead of uh, every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction, it's more of this reaction has no equal reaction except the one it's applying to the other rigid body. So yeah, and I'm just messing around a little more. You can see kind of things are hopping around from these weird collisions. So things that I definitely still want to work on these collisions for other projects and things, but this was an interesting, certainly kind of look into it. And then I quickly wanted to go into so I wanted to go over some of the scripts. So first, there we go. Okay, yeah. So wait, just real fast. I actually didn't comment my code this time because I was in such a rush. Well, more of I'm so behind is kind of it. So I didn't really spend too much time doing it. But you can see I have a few things. I have my selected object and my grabbed object. I also have, this is how I get my current device. I want to check if the controller is connected before I do anything. And then this is just me doing what Unity suggests for reading in a list. And then this is an enum I made to kind of distinguish which hand the controller manager was talking to. Um, Actually, this is pretty much unused, but ideally I could specify what hand does what. So, like if I wanted to do a locomotion and not use Unity, the XR interaction toolkit plugin, I could make my own by kind of going off of something like this. So, this was the grab radius for the grabbing interactable demonstration, and yeah. So I mean, this is I get the controller by just kind of checking all the devices. This is pretty much pulled straight from Unity. Um, and then I want to see first if I found a controller, and then if I found more than one, I'm kind of logging an error and saying, hey, this is wrong. To get the pointing direction, I kind of take my desired pointing direction and the distance um, to from my hand to the object I'm pointing at and multiply this vector. So pointing direction is just a vector in the z-axis or in the z direction. And then I'm just saying, hey, extend that vector along certain, or extend that vector by a certain distance, and then also rotate it based on my current hand rotation. The get position was pretty easy. Just get the position of the transform. Because I'm using the track to pose driver for these hand controllers. For getting the buttons, I was using pretty much what Unity told me to. The try get feature value, and then specifying what button I'm reading, and then like for here, I'm doing a Boolean check to see if the function returned true, and then also the value I got was true, then return that. Um,
Yeah, let's see. Cast ray, here's just me casting a ray. And for the normal ray cast, I'm not actually checking if I've already found an object because I only wanted to highlight when I found an object. But for the grab one, I don't want to keep checking if I've already found an object. So I actually say, if I found an object, if I haven't found an object, then send array. If I have, then don't. If I already have one, then don't send array, but do the current kind of stuff that I needed to do. Here's me getting the trigger value, getting the joystick value out of the axes. So I read both axes and I return them both. And if this is fails, I return just a zero vector. This is me just getting the grip button. This is me kind of grabbing the object. So I'm basically checking. I'm kind of, I believe, using similar code that I found, uh, or what Unity suggested, which is where if you get the overlap sphere, you want to get all the colliders in that sphere. Then I'm checking in each of them which one is the closest one, and I get the closest one. And then if nothing is, if I already found one, then do something to it. But only if I found something. Oh, that's wrong. This was I was trying to get the contact grab, so I didn't want to set it to an automatic point where I was grabbing it, but I kind of wanted to grab it wherever my hand was relative to it to get the relative vector and store that, but I was having some trouble doing that, so I'll get back to that. Um, this is the ray one, kind of not too much different. Let's see. Yeah, this is just me waiting for the trigger press, and then I will call the grab function in the selected object. uh, as long as it has the grabbable object array script, and then I'm kind of just sending it the joystick value here. Let's see. Yeah, so this is just me starting. I try to get the controller, and if I don't get the controller, I will continue trying to get the controller. And then the get controller will change this boolean to true or false depending on if it got it. And then if I've gotten it, then I can start doing everything, which is where I don't want to default render the line, so I only render it when I press one of these buttons, the grip or the A button. And then if I'm not pressing then just set it to null, whatever object I had. And this is me just getting the trigger press, and if I do, then grab the object. If not, set it to null. We also have this one, XR hand interact. So this was the one for a rigid body interaction where I'm just taking the transform, and I'm applying that transform to a rigid body, separate from, so two separate game objects. One is just a tracked pose driver, and one's a rigid body, basically. Or I know those are components, but they're in two separate game objects. And then I'm forwarding that game objects, the tracked pose driver game object, it's transformed to this um, rigid body so that I can move it. Um, let's see, yeah. So the grabbing, I'm just kind of saying supply the current hand position and orientation and use that with the hand offset to get the new position for this grab thing. This was me trying to do the uh, grab from anywhere or grab with whatever the current relative vector is and not set it to an offset. But you can see I was having trouble with it, so I just set default to the offset no matter what. And then this is just a counter so that if I've grabbed something or if I've let go of something, um, then wait 10 cycles to initialize that you have been not grabbed, basically. And this was because I was having some issues where it was like instantly ungrabbing and grabbing, and this just kind of gave me a little buffer. Similar concept with this one, with the ray one where I'm grabbing it, hand position, hand rotation, and then this float move distance is based on the thumbstick. So I divided by 10, but I should probably divide this by like 100 now since I changed the fixed update by like a magnitude of 10. And I'm just capturing it, and then depending on, I get the distance, depending on what our original capture distance was and the current capture distance, and then I just transform it. And then same thing where I'm counting. And then finally, this is just selecting the object. So if I've selected it, I'll call this highlight function. If I am unselecting it and I know it's still, then I'll call the unhighlight function. But if I've unselected the object, I made it null in my controller manager, and I haven't called this unhighlight, it will call unhighlight after 10 cycles, just the same way. And that's because it was having some flashing issues where it would kind of turn on and off like rapidly. So this kind of gave me a little buffer again.